For openers, a shot that just says fall and Thanksgiving weekend here in Canada. Beautiful shot of downtown Kitchener, Ontario, Victoria Lake in Victoria Park. Part of the Tri-Cities of Cambridge, Waterloo, and Kitchener. There's 600,000 folks in the region, 250,000 right here in the Tri-Cities. And two great rivers, the Grand that runs through Kitchener and the Ottawa between the Parliament buildings and Gatineau. There's the nation's capital, where tonight the Montreal Canadiens and the Ottawa Senators collide in game number 1 for us on Rogers Hometown Hockey. They are perfect so far, off to a 2-0 start. And there's a look at City Hall in Kitchener at Zaire Square. And the Rogers mobile unit is good to go for season number 2. 24 stops along the way, 30,000 kilometers. It's going to be a fantastic odyssey, and it's a celebration of, as I mentioned, the harvest, the bounty of the crops coming in. Good evening, Rod McLachlan, Tara Sloan, Jennifer Bottrell here to tell you the story of our game. We celebrate the crops and the harvest, but truly Thanksgiving is about working, the value, the power of working together. It's how we build communities. In sports, it's how we build a winner. And this show is really an extension of that theme, whether it's referees or the coaches or the players or all the volunteers that make our game so special. And the Kitchener Rangers, well, I'll tell you how important the night is. Ottawa just rolled in, dressed their best. Mike Hoffman from Kitchener scored an incredible shootout goal to give the Sens a win over the Leafs last night. Eric Carlson will take on PK Subban. There's Mike Hoffman. PK Subban was the arch enemy when he played for Belleville of the Kitchener Rangers and Nazem Kadri. And Nazem, who was a number 1 draft coming out of London into the OHL with the Kitchener Rangers for 2 seasons, had a fantastic run here. Pretty special Thanksgiving for you to be back in the London area, but in particular, Nazem, here in Kitchener, you saw your billets and the whole bit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it's exciting for me for sure. I haven't been back in a while. It's nice to see everybody, and I mean, Kitchener's always going to be a second home of mine.
What's your favorite highlight of the 2 years you spent as a Ranger?
I mean, heading to the Mem Cup, winning an OHL championship, a lot of great memories, a lot of great friendships, and it's something that I'll definitely always cherish.
Nazem scored a goal in Game 4 of the series against Belleville. They won the Robertson Cup. That's as pretty as you'll ever see. And the Rangers is where the story of hockey, I suppose, begins and ends, really, Nazem, when you think of Kitchener. And Rod McLachlan's our producer. Stephen Brunt, the journalist, has the history of the Kitchener Rangers.
Now over the line comes Bellows, trying to hook it around. He's all alone. He shoots, he scores! What a goal! And here's McGinnis. The shot scores! On the deflection, and Brian Bellows has a hat trick.
Brian Bellows, Al McInnes, Scott Stevens. It was 1982, and all 3 future Stanley Cup champions got their first taste of glory in Kitchener.
There it is. The Memorial Cup is over. What a great effort by the Kitchener Rangers. Look at the celebrations going on the ice right now.
You're always going to remember it, and you know, it's similar to winning the Stanley Cup. And I think at the time it was a great give back to the city of Kitchener. I mean, at the end of the year, I remember 7,500 people. You know, it was incredible.
That first championship was a long time coming. Prior to expansion, junior clubs served as NHL farm teams. In 1963, the New York Rangers moved theirs to Kitchener. 4 years later, the club was sold for $1 to a local businessman. He turned it over to the season's ticket holders, who own it to this day. Those fans have had their share of ups and downs, including the 1990 heartbreak, losing the final Memorial Cup game to Eric Lindros and the Oshawa Generals. It was 2003 before they brought home another championship.
Kitchener Rangers are Memorial Cup champions.
That was awesome. I think anybody that put the Rangers sweater on and played on that ice in front of those fans in the city, it was a great feeling.
Derek Roy was one of 7 future NHLers on that team, including Gregory Campbell and Mike Richards.
I know coaching staff, Pete DeBoer and C-Spot pushed us really hard as well, and that just made us better as players and as person.
Get to the fight from Landeskog. He cuts in. He shoots. The captain gave Landeskog.
Kitchener fans have seen a lot of good players through the years. Nearly 140 Rangers have graduated to the NHL. Colorado captain Gabriel Landeskog is one of the latest.
Everything about that organization and that city was first class, and met some great teammates and some great people there, and I don't think I appreciated it enough when I was there.
The current team is led by Al McInnes' son Ryan, who has been called up to an NHL camp, just like so many Rangers before him.
I feel proud that our group of guys, the 30 players, that we helped get it back up to a level of what Kitchener represents, and it stayed there. You know, it's one of those teams that if, you know, you have a son like I do in the States, or if they were going to come play in junior, it would be one of those 5-6 teams in the CHL you'd want to play for.
And the 2008 Memorial Cup was held right here in Kitchener, and the Rangers got all the way to the final game, Nazem, with you there against Spokane.
Yeah, that was definitely interesting. I mean, it was a lot of fun. It was obviously my first time in the Mem Cup, and I mean, the Kitchener Auditorium was the noise was through the roof. It was unbelievable to play in, a great atmosphere, and you know, I really wish I could go back.
They got you 4-1 Spokane, but that's goaltending. Just sometimes it does that kind of thing. And, you know, just seeing Gabriel Landeskog, he won the Calder Trophy Rookie of the Year in 2012, Jeff Skinner in 2011, and Steve Mason in 2009, all playing for the Rangers. Don Cameron's the other guy I just want to mention. You can't talk about the Rangers and their 50 years of glory without their broadcaster, Don Cameron. What do you remember about him?
Of course, Don was always one of the nicest guys. Doesn't matter who you were, if you were there for 5 years or just came brand new a week into it, he was always one of the nicest guys around and treated everybody the same. And I mean, he's got to go down as one of the all-time best in Kitchener, that's for sure.
High, wide, not so handsome. That's what he used to say about shots that would go wide. And you saw him there in the picture with Mike Farwell, who's taken over the broadcast. Fantastic broadcaster with Mike Torkia, the goalie. We'll do the color now for the Rangers broadcast. All right, another ambassador from Kitchener that has sold the game and got us to love the game is the great Daryl Sittler, and he is with Tara and Jen.